too deep, but more than that. And I'm sure, based on seeing this team last year, you know what it's going to be like in the Big 12, as a lot of offenses, you know, high power like that.
Well, and the good news for us defensively, we're seeing, you know, very talented quarterback and receivers, you know, in practice. That the good news for our guys, it's sure not going to be better, you know. So, you know, we're getting to practice against some of the Big 12, you know, some of the best the Big 12 is going to have to, you know, to offer. So it's definitely a plus and a benefit for us to be able to practice at that speed and with the talent at those positions.
I know one of the position changes that happened quite recently was Nick, and I can't really pronounce his last name. Tell me about why he's now over at middle linebacker.
Well, we just feel like that his skill set is better for the inside. You know, I mean, there'll probably be a couple more guys that will target and move inside. You know, that's what I was just talking about earlier. We try to, you know, look for guys who are multi-sport athletes, guys who can make tackles in space and are inside, and also be explosive blitzers. But also, you got to be physically tough enough to hang in there and stop the run. And it's a process for Nick because he's got to learn to play with a power base and his pad level down. But he's making the transition nicely, and it's just a complete different ball game inside compared to the edge.
Even a bigger transition will be Donovan Miles to fullback. You got to work with him, though. What do you see that you think that maybe could translate to?
Well, you know, when Coach approached me about any of my linebackers that they thought could possibly provide depth, you know, at that position, Donovan immediately, because he's a physically tough kid, he wants to very bad. He loves this program, and he was the guy that stepped up, said, you know, I'll do whatever it takes to help this football team, and he stepped right in, and he's doing a nice job from what I can tell.
You've probably been asked about Josh Francis, but his evolution, you know, last year, a guy who didn't really get much time, sort of was learning the scheme. That people have said that this is a more instinctive sort of scheme, and it sort of suited him. Do you see that?
Yeah, I think more than anything is when you're an inside linebacker, I mean, you have, you know, linemen, things outside of you coming from both sides. When you move a guy to the edge of the defense, but he's still on his feet, now he just has everything is inside of him. I think it makes a big difference, you know, and I think that's been part of Josh's, you know, getting him in his comfort zone. I think that he's going to continue to improve. You know, he's an extremely explosive blitzer off the edge. As soon as he learns his pass rush techniques and things like that, it's going to help him. He's got to be physical enough to stop the run. But boy, I tell you what, he continues to get better every time we take the field.
How do you feel about your depth at this point?
Well, you know, it's going to be a process and something we got to continue to build. You know, we're just halfway through spring ball. We still got, you know, scrimmage situations, which are completely different than practice. How are they going to respond when you're not on the field with them, you know? So we'll see. We got our first test on Sunday, and we'll see how that goes. And you know, I feel really good right now where we are. You know, we're not where we want to be, but we're going to continue to work and develop depth and look at guys and make sure we get them in the right spot, the right position. And there's still a couple of moves I think that we can make that can help create some more depth once we get some of these guys back from injury as well.
That was one thing you guys talked a lot about before the spring, was just finding where guys fit. I mean, how has that process come along, and is it still?
Yeah, it's an everyday evaluation. I mean, and it's not just what they do on the field; it's what they do in the classroom. It's what they do, you know, in meetings and studying and dependability and things like that. So it's an everyday evaluation. But I do like where we are. I know our kids play and work with great passion, and so we're excited about where we are. I think once we get some of the guys, like I said, they're coming back from injury, that's going to allow us to move guys to other positions and create more depth.
How vital is having depth, especially you're going to a conference, you may see 80 snaps a game, even 100 snaps a game.
That's right. I mean, I think it's become so much more important, and I think the one thing that helps us is we have certain sub-packages, you know, 3 different sub-packages, so I think that helps kind of create a kind of a natural substitution, you know, package. You have to have depth in today's game. I mean, if you try to play the same 11 guys for you know 85, 90 snaps over the course of 2 games, you just really played, you know, or what used to be the equivalent of 3, where you played 60 to 65 snaps a game. Now all of a sudden in 2 games you played 180 snaps. Well, normally that was 3 games in the past. Where that, excuse me, where that starts to take its toll, game 8, game 9, game 10, that's when you start to see it show up a little bit.